Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Deadfire with me, Break It Dawn.
Tell me.
So it looks like Pallegina has Zealous Charge. Never mind, she's in the right. Not sure when that changed.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, let's go pay a visit to Yseyr before we confront Admiral Imp in Queen's Birth. A massive door looms before you. The edges are sealed so tight, not a breath of air escapes them. Religious runes sprawl the length, carved deeply into pitted stone. You recognize the runes as Memento Mori, depicting the inevitability of death and the immortality of the soul. The door shudders and groans at your approach. Inspect the door. An elaborate etching spans the stone's width, carved faintly beneath several runes. It depicts a small crowd praying to a pair of giant eels that have coiled above a large door, and a Moa priest holds a disc near to the door's face. A religious artifact, blessed by Bareth, is likely necessary to open this entryway. Hold the eel's coil up to the door. As the eel's coil nears the door, the stone-carved circlet rattles in your hand. Wisps of your soul essence encircle the coil, then reach outward. The tendrils curl toward the door, touching it, soaking it in a purple glow. A murmur, like Bareth's own welcome, whispers up from under your feet. The door begins to slide open, grinding down into the ground. Let's hope this visit remains amicable. This guy does not look like a pushover.
How fares, brother?
Well, hard to complain. All that beauty and fresh air out there. You should come outside with us sometime. It'd do you some good.
The fires flare hotter in the Death Guard's eyes.
Oh, right. That's my fault there. Shouldn't have brought it up.
Again now, speak.
What can you tell me about Lucia Rivan? The Death Guard seethes at the mention of Rivan's name. Rage, cold but violent, rattles up the skeleton's spine.
Curse her soul to netherin torture. Rivan would have befouled Bareth, which a black pox on the ear that she whilom sought to vile ruin. I would aid any who hunt for Rivan. Aye. What are you seeking to learn?
Who was she?
Rivan was a Darkotsi paladin. She defied Bareth, wielded a weapon nae meant for the hands of mortals. I hunted for Rivan and the sword from Yseyr to the Deadfire. Hinderly caught her, slew her, and took Bareth's weapon for warding. But Rivan wouldn't keep dead. From sheer will and faith, she riz a monster, able to breed an army of undead. Turned Death Guard, Rivan sailed with her undead army in her foulsome Fonferus.
Can you tell me about the battle fought against the undead?
I tried to end them for good, but the battle turned against me. I tracked the ship's comings and caught a regular trail, so I sailed to meet Rivan near the shadows of Duskin Isle. Then I waited. A far fog neared despite the good winds. Rivan's ship crept from the mist. The winds died off, the waters calmed, and the ghost ship routed my ambush. 'Twas a slaughter. I was mort wounded, but fled with Bareth's weapon, the Engoliero dos Spears. Came to the temple of Neketaka to be buried, but I couldn't leave the sword unwarded. So I begged Bareth for another chance to serve my cause. I refuse to die.
Let me ask you about something else. The skeleton stands rigid as death, the only movement a flicker of cunning in his eyes. So you sacrifice yourself to guard this sacred weapon.
Aye. 'Twas a harsh choice, but I made it. Was willing to serve my deity by becoming what I hunted in her name.
Fie, I couldn't think her 12-bit dallying topside to shelter a stiff, unfailing sliver of being.
Aleth rolls his eyes as Yseyr slips away again.
A kindred soul can be a true balm. We thank ye.
He rolls his skull on his vertebrae that sound like wood crackling in a fire.
The weapon cannot be allowed out in Aora. Needed to ward it for all time. But I cannot keep it from the undead if I'm not undead myself.
You sure Bareth's alright with you breaking the cycle of rebirth?
Aye, or surely I wouldn't be standing.
I could put that weapon to good use. For Bareth. His pale-boned fingers clench a tight grip on the weapon's hilt.
Think you're deserving, do you? But in what way should I trust you now?
So, my character doesn't have any love for the gods. But he does want that weapon. We ran across Rivan as well. But she left us be because we're touched by Bareth. So I think there's more to the story than what we know so far. Because Yseyr thinks she was working against Bareth's wishes. But she seems to have respect for Bareth. Either way, go with option 1. How will Kith learn from the gods if we forever hide their truths in forgotten tombs?
I nae con any more about the ways of Kith, but a world without the gods' direction is doomed.
I disagree, but give me the sword. The towering skeleton cracks his head from side to side.
You can wield this weapon, aye, for a time. And first you'll swear a blood oath to return it.
So that makes me think it's going to be a quest item. Cut your hand. I return the charge. Your charge, I swear. He rattles his large skull.
Now your troth has been marked before Bareth, and your fate thisly sealed.
The ancient death guard hefts the sword toward you, beckoning you take it from his bony hands. Farewell. So it is a quest item. So I wonder if we have to use this to provoke Rivan to fight us. Belonging to the royal family of Grand Valia, this Estok's name roughly translates to the Devourer of Souls. It was brought to the Deadfire by Yseyr Rivan, our cozy paladin charged with protecting the blade. Try as you might, you cannot free the weapon from its scabbard.
Sure.
I was a little hesitant to promise to bring it back, but now that I know it's just a quest item, I don't care anymore. But it's possible it becomes a weapon we can use after we finish the quest. But no one in my party uses Estoks anyway. Now it's time for Admiral Imp to get his comeuppance. You're traveling in the slums of Neketaka when the streets become suddenly barren. Interesting. Is Rivan coming on land to fight us? The cliffs high above block all sight of the stars from the narrow alleys and tunnels of Neketaka's ghettos. The reek of rotten fruit mixes with the noisome scent of dead fish, swaddling you along with 100 other lesser filthy fragrances. Your footsteps echo in the darkness, piercing the otherwise silent slums. Strangely quiet, don't you think? Aloth looks around warily. You turn a corner and walk into a plain of cry. Help! Misshapen shadows mix with low hissing and the skirting of claws on filthy stone to resolve into a pack of scolder. Their glistening maws float in the black, and cave grubs wriggle about their legs, mandibles snapping as if to mangle the air. On the far side of the creatures, a small girl dressed in the rags of the Huana grips a gleaming sword in both hands. She brandishes it wildly at the scolder, each swing of the blade releasing a howl that keeps the beasts at bay. They creep ever closer to her, however, and her eyes plead with your own. Please. Draw the beast's attention. You throw yourself into the crowd of scolder, shouldering one to the ground. As it scrambles to its feet with a screeching hiss, the others turn their hungry eyes and fetid breath on you. Well, good. We can do it to warm up before we confront Admiral Imp.
I bring your end.
That would be enough.
I should have charged through instead. That was a good opportunity to use that. That's okay, let's get back here and make sure Kusi survives. Running towards us, let's make sure I don't use any AoE here. Unfortunately, it does mean Pallegina as well, so she just can't attack. I'm not going to risk hitting Kusi.
Take him down.
Okay. Alright, I saw that explosion. I was afraid Kusi exploded.
Let's go.
No mercy! That's it!
What can I do you for?
Take him down.
Oh? I shall.
The girl panting before you, draped in tattered Raparu robes, bears a few bruises and cuts, but looks otherwise unharmed. Beads of sweat commingle with trickling blood on her forehead. Finally relaxing, she lowers the sword she's been swinging, letting the edge rest in the dirt. The pommel bears the form of a dog's head.
Thanks, stranger. Don't think I could have made it without you.
Kusi smiles, eyes gleaming in the gloom. What were you doing out here?
These Skulder had been picking folk off for weeks, picking on the weak. Those too young, old, or sick to fight them off.
She kicks one of the corpses.
Maybe it was stupid, but I couldn't let that go on, not if I could help it.
I'm glad I could help.
Ha! You and me both. The gullet's a safer place with these monsters cut to pieces.
That's quite the sword you've got there.
Like it? My father left it for me. Told me that one day I'd defend the Deadfire with it.
She grins. Then it's an ancestral blade.
Not really. Father found it and brought it home. He said he got it from some Dirwidian pirate captain with a dog named Griffin. But, well, sometimes his tales were a bit taller than true.
She smiles. The sadness hides behind the glint of her eyes. You're lucky you're not dead.
I know. But isn't that true of most folk who aren't dead?
Good point.
Anyway, I think you should have this. For what you did, and for what you can do with it.
She kneels, wipes the blood off of the blade, and slides it into its scabbard before proffering it to you. Most Juan in the Gullet don't have your grasp of Adiran.
That's Father's doing. He traveled all over and he insisted that I learn Adiran, Valian, and Rawatayan.
She puffs out her chest.
I even know a few phrases in Anutanic.
People of the Tundra. Well, thank you. I'll use this blade well.
No, thank you for coming along when you did. And what's more, for helping.
She bows her head. As you take the sword from her, the girl steps back.
I truly appreciate what you did. Not everyone in Neketaka steps in for a neighbor. I need to be getting back to Mother, though.
She grimaces down at one of the dead Skulder.
I probably shouldn't take home Skulder meat, should I?
She muses. Of course it's a sword. Man. Exceptional Howling Blade. 50% chance to daze target and nearby enemies on crit. And Loyal Companion. The Spirit of Griffin bolsters the party's courage. Grants steadfast to the wielder and nearby allies when the wielder is bloodied. This bronze sword is not associated with a great smith, but with a modest artisan. The young craftswoman, noted for her talent in engraving and jewelry, received the unfinished blade from her local lord, the commission for a brass crossguard and pommel. Elated at the trust shown in her talents, the artisan worked tirelessly to complete the order. As she etched and polished, her faithful dog Griffin stayed at her side day and night. As days turned to weeks, the artisan began to forego food and sleep in her effort to fulfill her commission. When she became discouraged, Griffin, her ever faithful companion, was there to encourage her with a nuzzle and a loving lick. One day while working, the artisan looked down at her feet to find her beloved canine companion cold and still. Griffin had died curled at her feet, faithful to the last. Heartbroken, the artisan decided to commemorate the hound on the piece into which she had poured her heart and soul. She crafted the pommel into Griffin's likeness, taking some comfort in knowing that when the Lord carried his sword, he too would always have a loyal companion at his side. That was a sad story. Hound's Courage. Plus 10% damage with spells and plus 5 will. Hound's Resilience. Minus 10% damage taken from melee attacks, plus 5 fortitude. And Hound's Speed. Plus 10% action speed and plus 5 reflex. So I did want to give Adair Andre's Flog of Obedience so he has crush damage. I feel like there's just too much overlap between a sword and a saber. It does give him piercing damage, but it seems like most enemies that are resistant to slashing are also resistant to pierce. I know that's not a blanket rule, but I'm thinking of constructs specifically. This still has pierce damage, 10% of it is. Yeah, we just keep coming across the problem. We don't have enough crush damage in the party. We'll get more value out of that, I think. I might give Modware to someone else. I think I'll use Griffin's Blade. I like the story enough to keep it equipped.
Of course.
I mean, meat's meat.
Yeah, meat is meat. I'll give you that. I'm gonna get to the Wild Mare before we confront Admiral Imp, so we can rest up. So we used a lot of our once per rest abilities on the last fight.
Now, what can I do for you? You see anything you like?
Deal with that later. I don't know if I looked at that. A lot of enchanting.
Aye.
Which I still wish I would have gone with my main character. It's fine. Or even Evoker would have been good, but I think that meant I couldn't use Illusion. That was never really an option.
I shall.
Alright, so we gotta find Admiral Imp. We have no idea where he's at.
Yeah?
I didn't rest up. What reason I went there? These bounty fights have been pretty tough. I do want to keep all tools at my disposal
Now,
available.
You see anything?
We did get a lot of bang for our buck with the last buff we had, though. From that encounter on the same island as the Hellfire Colossus. So we had that for a while. I don't suppose it says where he's at.
Huh?
Last time we fought imps, they were up here on the bridge. So that's a good a place as any to start. Start our search.
Poor Uncle Atello.
So I think Palladino will level up off our fight with Admiral Imp. If not, then we turn all these in at, well, we have another bounty to take care of as well. Like Quarro. We'll knock that out before we head back to Fort Deadlight to turn in all the other bounties. We'll get a decent payout. Oh, there he is.
Avast, ground filth. Why disturb Lord Admiral, eh?
Dim glances left and right with evident anxiety.
Not doing anything wrong. Go away.
Zerbs flanking the imp chitter to themselves and glance around the district. You wouldn't be trying to steal a boat, would you?
Boat? Lord Admiral has fleet. Blast filthy ground stink city. Start with you, eh?
The pitch of the imp's voice begins to turn heads.
Get him, cullies.
The imp points at you and screeches at the top of his lungs.
I bring your end. Be a little cautious with these guards walking around. Maybe try not to use too many AoE abilities.
Where then raw?
That's it.
Cresta. Something else.
What do you need?
Pharaothus!
Alright, take care of that high priest next.
That dog won't hunt.
No rush, but if you in my area of expertise, I'd be much obliged.
Alright, down he goes, and next... Champion. Well, a whole bunch of them next. Don't really have a single target.
Say your prayers.
I bring your end.
to the... Madiko. I need to try something else.
Hey,
May I be a...
what do you need?
I am ready at once.
I?
Yeah, just stand there and watch, buddy.
No good.
What do you need?
I was actually expecting that fight to be the hardest of the bunch, with Admiral Imp subverting expectations. A little disappointed that wasn't the case. Alright, Lord Admiral Imp's map fragment. Imp. Guard parchment, yes. No giveaway. No try and sell. When other crew stink find you, follow them for treasure, yes? Good, Imp. Captain Henqua. And Ibis. Flame Ward. +3 burn armor rating, and +10 all defenses against fire attacks. That'll be good against the Hellfire Colossus. And Overwhelm. Being critically hit with a fire attack will cause interrupt and give a -10 will penalty for 30 seconds. I assume that's applied to the wearer, and not the enemy that critically hits. This ring was discovered at the home of the dwarf alchemist Nicolia Volk after her infamous disappearance. When her creditors scoured her house for valuables, the ring was sitting on the entry table. A small scrap of parchment next to it bore Nicolia's handwriting. It appeared to have been torn from a larger volume, possibly a diary. Where the birds sing a pretty song, it read. The band of this mysterious ring is of an unknown metal, but the stone set in its center is almost certainly jade. The gemstone bears an ancient pictograph depicting an owl. Paradoxically, the Ingwithan word for ibis is embossed around the band. Donning the ring briefly fills the ears with the sounds of birdsong and running water.
What do you need?
I trust you.
Alright, I'm going to call it here. Next time we will leave Neketaka, hunt down Quaro, and then sail back to Deadlight? No, Dunnage. I said Deadlight earlier. Too many D's. Deadfire, Deadlight, Dunnage. We'll go back to Dunnage, turn in the quests to Desirol, another D, and the other bounty to the... I think it's the person in Lifter's Refuge. They gave us the bounty for Quaro. But for now, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.